Now it appears as though everybody and their mother decided it was a great time to grab a mic and basically go at it. So, even though it's been a while, we're gonna drop our opinion on this. Hey yo, what it do, YouTube? It's your boy Alvin Mike from L.T.A. And in today's video, let's talk about Trae Young, Patrick Beverley, and this little back and forth that started all over a simple highlight reel of a run that included my boy Malik Cash Out Beasley. You know, he beat the case, but that don't mean he didn't do it. Anyway, on September the 13th, a video was posted. A video was quote tweeted. It was a video of an indoor run for some NBA players. Wasn't really any superstars. It contained Malik Beasley and I forgot who else. And basically the quotation of the tweet said, "Honest question, why do NBA players play so hard in random open gyms in the summer, but give no effort in the All-Star game with millions watching?" Now, after seeing this, Patrick Beverley decided to quote tweet this himself and say, "Because All-Stars take the game for granted. Not one All-Star on the court, good bump," right? Now, the thing about this is, someone replied to this in the comments, and that someone just happened to be Trae Young, who responded, "Relax, let us speak for ourselves." Now, this little interaction ended up causing a series of 3 separate videos. 3, which I'm not gonna lie, we should have expected because it is what it is. But let's get into the videos. Let's get into the videos first. Honorable mention to KD, who basically asked Pat not to go at Trae because, you know what I'm saying, it is what it is. But basically, the first initial video that Patrick Beverley dropped, if I quickly flick my notes back to page 1, was Pat basically discussing Trae's comment. And I'm not gonna lie, for Trae having used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, this was quite a lengthy response, and it felt as though Pat was more butthurt by what Trae said than the actual sentiment behind the statement. And the reason I say this is Pat basically starts off by saying, "On this podcast, we ride or die for Trae." Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Anytime a man starts something with, "Hey, man, trust me, I got all the support in the world for you," and puts a but after it, just know whatever's coming after that is a whole lot of slander, and whatever came before it really don't matter. He basically said Trae don't have enough to speak to him, because he referenced the fact that in Trae's 7 years in the league, Trae has only made the playoffs 3 times, whereas in Pat Beverley's entire career, he made the playoffs 9 times, having made it within his first 7 years. And he also basically referenced the fact that Trae Young would have to go perfect for the next 6 years to try and catch up to him. And if Trae doesn't win before he retires, everyone's going to forget who he was, and he doesn't believe that Trae Young will make the playoffs 9 times, let alone he also has people within the organization who basically tell him that the Atlanta Hawks are the Trae Hawks, basically making reference to the fact that he believes no one enjoys playing in Atlanta, no one wants to come to Atlanta, and it's a weird one. Watching this little first video, my initial response was, this seemed more like Pat was trying to attack Trae for "don't talk to me like you can talk to me," and I'm not gonna lie, using the reference guide of "I've made the playoffs 9 times," I got all the love in the world for Pat. Let me put it this way. Back in the day, Pat Beverley was really causing problems for some of your favorite players, mainly because he was a nuisance. I mean, he was really good defensively, not one of the elite like Tony Allen, but he was a nuisance whereby he's a real small guy who's really active on defense. And if you've ever played basketball, you know one thing. If it's a small dude who's active, he can really cause problems for you down there. But that's what he did. But the issue here is when your reference guide is comparing the fact that you made the playoffs 9 times, and let alone you made those 9 times whilst you're on teams that were somewhat super teams, whereas for Trae, every time he's made the playoffs, he's been number 1. He's not been number 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not gonna lie, Pat was usually like number 4, 5, maybe 6 on the team every time he made the playoffs. So from this video, the main thing that we got was Pat was trying to attack Trae, basically telling Trae, "Don't talk to me, you're not on my level. I'd take it if it came from KD, LeBron, blah, blah, blah." But the truth is, those aren't the guys only who can talk to Pat. There's a lot of dudes who possibly have 1 ring, or even an MVP with no rings, or even multiple All-Star appearances, who in my personal opinion can talk to Pat, mainly because, again, made the playoffs without really being the leading star or being a member. Like, for example, Lou Will was a bigger impact on the Clippers than Patrick Beverley ever was. But anyway, I digress. I want to get through all the videos before I give my final comments. So the next video that came out was Trae Young's response video in response to Patrick Beverley. Now, the first thing that gotta give props to Trae for is he willingly noticed that Pat Beverley's first reaction seemed like Pat Beverley was really just trying to, generate content. This seemed like a clout move whereby Patrick Beverley basically said, what's the best way to generate some views, some reactions? Basically, go at Trae. And in Trae's video, he basically firstly referenced the fact that they've both been to the conference finals once. Trae was more of a gentleman in how we went about this, because this was one of them I'm smacking you type responses, but I'm smacking you and then giving you a hug to console you. He basically asked, what has Pat won? The fact that Trae's got a Jordan endorsement, Pat will never know what that weight feels like of having an endorsement, because Pat technically never did. Mentioned the superstars Pat played with, because as I said, Pat has played on some stacked teams. He's played with Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, just to name a few. Anthony Davis. Like, Pat Beverley has played with quite a few superstars. Your favorite superstar has most likely played with Pat. If your favorite superstar played between the late, let's say early 2010s to late 2010s, they probably played with Pat. Anyway, he also mentioned the fact that Pat was celebrating play-in wins, whereas for Trae, the bigger thing was he was celebrating getting to the playoffs. He celebrated the fact that he's made the playoffs 3 times in his first 7 years, at the fact that he joined the league when he was 19, whereas Pat Beverley joined when he was 24. He also mentions the fact that he was never scared when he saw Pat on the court, which I can kind of get, mainly because small guard against small guard, I can see why you wouldn't be afraid of Pat. Like, he could really get to you, but the issue is the way Pat plays, especially in this modern day league. They'd have called a bunch of fouls on him, which would have been unfair in my personal opinion, but it is what it is. He also mentioned being carried by a lot of all-stars, knew that Pat, basically, he was going at Pat, right? He was going at him. And then he basically ended the video by referencing the fact that Pat meant a lot to the game. The fact that he made it to the NBA is a big accomplishment in itself, and that's no small feat. And then he kept referencing the fact that this year he's trying to make a championship run. They've got Kristaps Porzingis, who he believes is going to be a key piece, and also that he believes Jalen Johnson is going to be an all-star for the first time in his career this year, which I also believe myself. And then finally, we get into Patrick Beverley's last video. Now at this point, we moved from the point of basically referencing this is the funny thing. Anytime there's an argument, when that argument is started off of something, but it wasn't really meant about that, you will always know, because later on in the discussion, you'll find yourself lost in regards of, what was this whole argument about? Which, when watching the third video, I said to myself, wait, was this not about the whole mention of All-Stars not playing at the All-Star game? Because in Pat's last video, not to dash out Pat, but it was basically him going at Trae, talking about, Trae, you gotta win. We want you to we enjoy the NBA when you're in it. We need you to leave your mark on the NBA. We need you to be an all-star. We need you to win rings, which I hear. It's basically Pat going at Trae for more his ability and what he's done so far. The fact that coaches have come in, been released because of Trae. Players have come in and been traded because of Trae. He's basically said Trae has turned Atlanta into a situation whereby, because of how unsuccessful he is as a superstar, a lot of other people are suffering, whether that be GMs, players, coaches, anyone you can think of. And that's not a lie. That is really not a lie. But to keep this video short and sweet, because I didn't want to basically play all the video clips and then show the reactions, because I didn't know that that's what you guys wanted. To conclude this, Patrick Beverley basically took this as an opportunity to challenge Trae Young in regards of Trae Young's ability of what can you do? Because let's be dead serious, Trae Young has built a model for himself, or at least a character for himself, in the fact that we saw Trae Young as the same way we saw Ben Simmons as the next coming of LeBron, we saw Trae as the next coming of Steph. Because if you remember watching Trae in high school, that boy could pull that thing from deep and he could shoot that thing like no man's business. And Pat does reference that. He references, you are the closest thing to Steph we've ever seen it. And it's true. So the issue is, with standards like that set on you, people expect you to succeed the same way Steph did. But the thing that people are forgetting is, in Steph's first few years, I don't believe, Steph didn't get it going until like he didn't win a ring until like year 7, year 8. So technically, Trae is on projection. Steph wasn't really being mentioned as an MVP until after like year 5. Which is ironic, because the same thing could be said about Trae. The only issue is, we're all looking at what Steph has done most recently. We're not looking at how Steph started, because I watched Steph in the start. I've been a fan of Steph since Davidson. And the issue is, in his first few years, we didn't even know if it was going to be his team or whether he was going to be in Golden State the whole time. So I feel like the guideline that they're putting on Trae, it is deserved, but it isn't deserved. The other thing I have to mention is, Pat Beverley does mention the fact that where he says, can they not criticize Trae because they criticize everyone else? And there's an issue in that statement. You can criticize Trae. The only thing is, come directly at him criticizing him. Don't do it behind the whole thing of, don't talk to me, don't do it. Like the first video Pat Beverley dropped, I'm not gonna lie, that was some disrespectful stuff. That was no criticism. That was more a statement of, you're beneath me, stay beneath me, don't talk to me. So I can get why Trae felt the way he did. But Pat Beverley does have ground to stand on in the fact that Trae Young has caused a bit of an awkward situation in Atlanta. He's the superstar. He's been the superstar. Prior to him, as he said, the last time we saw someone being a point guard helping lead the Hawks was Jeff Teague. And since Trae Young's taken over, they have made a conference finals, which you got to give him a lot of round of applause for. But the issue is you got to win. You got to succeed. You got to basically showcase that you're that guy. Because Trae Young has led the NBA in assists a couple times. Trae Young has been one of the top scorers in the leagues a couple times. And it's the thing whereby at this point, what do you need to win? You need to win. So what do you need the team to put around you to win? And at this point, I really do believe the squad they have around him right now with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jalen Johnson, Kristaps Porzingis, just to mention a few, that's a squad that can win. So Trae really needs to go out there and win because otherwise you're screwed. As for Pat Beverley, I'm going to say it this way, man. You really doing that content game because, yeah, the way you were throwing shade at this, man, you could tell you wanted people to click on this. The only thing is, again, if you're going to reference at him, man, you got to do it properly, man. Go directly at him. Don't go sideways. If you're going to go at him, go at him. So, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you had wanted me to do the content a little bit more differently and possibly watch the videos and live react to them, let me know down below in the comments because that is also an option. In my personal opinion, this is a debate that should have never started. I don't really see this as anything too major. I know there's a bunch of reaction channels that are probably watching this going, oh my god, blah, blah, blah. This is starting a beef. This is blah, blah, blah. No, it ain't, man. It really ain't. At the end of the day, this is just two competitive guys who really got into it. And yeah, they just spoke their minds out openly rather than having this discussion behind closed doors. I honestly believe had this discussion been had behind closed doors, it would have been a lot better. The other thing to mention is in reference to the original tweet that basically asked why do these guys play a lot more intense in open runs than they do in the All-Star game? Think of it this way. The All-Star game is exactly like your work when they tell you you're going on an off-site day, whereby you're going to go do some team building or character bonding type stuff. You don't really work that hard, do you? You chill, you relax, you have a little fun, you basically see your friends who you work with, and you know, you kiki, haha, do all that stuff. That's the same thing for NBA players. Whenever they step into the All-Star game, that's how they view it. They're there to have fun with their friends and just kick it around. Now, obviously, there's a few million people watching, which technically means they're still on the clock, but that's their day off-site. So I get why they're like that. And when you wonder why they play so hard in these summer runs, firstly, sometimes it's because the competition they're playing against, they can't afford to lose against them because it will be a bad luck if they lose. And secondly, it's during the summer. You got to remember, this is the lead up to the NBA season. If you've been training all off season, in the lead up, as in the final few weeks, you're going to be pushing yourself to really ramp it up, i.e. you're going to be playing in-game style. And when you're playing against an ordinary person, that's going to look a lot nicer than it really does because, yeah, there's no LeBron to tell you swing the ball. There's no KD to tell you hand it to me. Nah, you're going to have dudes like Dorian Finney-Smith, just to mention him off the KD reference, playing their hearts out because, again, they're ramping it up for the NBA season. They got to push themselves. They got to motivate themselves. In which case, you will see them playing a little bit harder in these summer runs. So that's my conclusion. That's my 2 cents. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video, which if you did, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and you haven't done so yet, don't forget, hit that subscribe button and turn post notifications on. And down below in the comments, as I said, let me know, would you rather we do these as a live reaction whereby we watch the video together and I comment as I watch it? Or are you happy with me just doing a post video summary and letting you know what I thought? Hey, it is what it is. It's been your boy Alvin Mike from L.T.A. I'll catch you in a bit. Deuces.